Hey, right, okay. So today we will be doing the League 2 predictions in this video. I just want to say I don't support any of these clubs. It's just my opinion, and, whether it's right or wrong, it's just my opinion. I don't have a lot of... Basically, I used to really watch the AFL and got very poorly at the back end of last season, or 2 seasons ago now. And I didn't keep up to date with most football, and because of it, I really fell out in love with the game, and I only really cared about Hereford, and I only watched the Premier League, and that's just how it was. So I'm planning on watching a lot more. So if you're new, then I will be doing all sorts of EFL content. But having said all that, I didn't watch a lot last season. So I'm not 100% sure. But this is my predictions. Obviously, it could be totally wrong. But let me know your predictions down below anyway. And, let's get started. So 24th, as you can see, I've gone for Morecambe. So Morecambe have been in the EFL for around 10 years. No, not 10 years. Certainly not 10 years. That's when... so maybe 9 years or 8 years, that sort of milestone. It could actually have been 10 years, to be fair. And they've done okay, but they've had a lot of problems off the field. And, they've not been doing very good. And last season, they only survived on goal difference. So I've gone for them to finish bottom. They have signed a lot of players, but they've signed them from all over the place, like Stockport, Bury, Southport, West Didsbury, and then a couple of other players. I don't know. I just have a feeling they're going to go down under Jim Bentley, who's been there for around 5 years or so. So he's my first pick, Morecambe. So 23. We have Yeovil Town, which is a bit of a surprise, considering recently they have been as far as the Championship. But they've lost some players who they played a lot last season, and they've made a lot of signings, a few signings, and they finished 19th, 20th, 19th, and I don't think they've improved their squad, and that's always a concern. Is it Darren Waste in charge? Yeah, Darren Waste in charge. Obviously, he was a legend at the club, and now he's taken him forward. Very similar to the situation Jim Bentley and Morecambe, who was a legend at the club, and Darren Way would be very similar. They've signed a lot of players. They've signed a lot of young players, 20, 18, 19, 22, and 19. Very young players. So I've gone for them to finish 23rd. 22nd, we have Macclesfield Town. Now, Macclesfield did amazing to do what they did with clubs on huge budgets and huge wages. They, got promoted, which was absolutely exceptional by John Askey and the players. However, they've lost Askey. And they've brought in Mark Yates, who has been in this level before. He with Crawley, and he's been with Cheltenham, and he did quite well with Cheltenham, in the playoffs. But they did amazingly to get there. I'm shocked they came up, but losing him, it could be really harbour their chances of staying up. So I've gone 22nd for Macclesfield Town. So 21st, we have Crawley Town, who once again are managed by Harry Kewell in his first managerial job. I was quite remarkably surprised when they stayed up, but fair play to him for doing that. So Crawley, it's gonna. I just don't think they've improved. They've lost one of their best players. They signed Vancelo, who I really rate. They signed Polion as well. He should be okay. But, you know, I just don't think their signings are very good. Besides Ranselo. I mean, if you look at them, it's an aging Felipe Morris, who should be fine, and then they've signed, you know, a few players from the non-league, which sometimes they work out. But 21st is Crawley. Next, we have Cheltenham Town under Gary Johnson. So Cheltenham have had an interesting summer. They have lost Harry Pell, who has been captain in recent years. They've also lost Mo Issa, who has gone to Bristol City, who was their main goal threat, as far as I'm aware. They've bought a lot of players, you know, mostly young players. I think they could be in for another season of struggle, just based on the players they've signed. You know, the likes of Chris Hussey is very experienced, and you know, Johnny Mullins is experienced. But besides that, they brought in a very lot of young players, and I don't really know who they are. But having said all of that, you know, they have done. You know, Shrewsbury did a very similar thing, didn't they? When they signed a lot of young players, a lot of loanees, and they did amazing last season. But you know, having said all that, 20th we have Cheltenham. At 19th. We have Grimsby Town under Michael Jolly. He didn't really impress much, Michael Jolly, when he came in, but they survived. What have I got written down here? You know, his win ratio is shit. You know, that there's no doubt about it. They've signed some really, really strange players. They signed Jake Hessenthaler. I don't know. Would he be playing at that level if, you know, if his dad wasn't, you know, a recognisable name? I don't know. You know, Sam Russell is an aging goalkeeper. Harry Davis, pretty sure he wasn't very highly rated when he was at Crewe, and there was people saying that he was only there because of his dad was in charge, Steve Davis, at the time. Yeah, so I'm not really impressed with their signings. I'm not sure on the manager. But the thing is, I say I'm not sure on the manager. Even if he does absolutely dreadful, he's not going to be there at the end of the season, is he? He is going to go. So, it is what it is. So 18th, we have Crewe Alexandra, who are currently managed by Dave Artell. And yeah, they've not lost anyone massive besides Chris Dagnall, who, you know, still 32, but he still could score goals, and he has gone to, I think, a club in this league. So we'll be touching on him a little later. They've signed players. A lot of players have come through from, you know, have been involved. That have come through the Crewe Academy, which is very, very successful. But they've signed Sean Miller, they signed Paul Green, and they have signed Alex Nichols, who are all, you know, 30, and 35. They're so, you know, not old, but starting to get past it. You know, which is concerning. Obviously, they lost Dagnall, who I'm rating, who was, you know, who was 32, but they were involved last year with the relegation battle, and that is exactly what I am expecting again. In 17th place, we have a side that I saw very, very recently in Forest Green Rovers. So Forest Green have been backed by Dale Vince for a very, very long time, and they have been very, very successful when he has been backing them. They have signed a lot of players, you know, whether they'll improve them or not, I think they will. The goalkeeper Sanchez, who's come on loan from Brighton under 23s, whether he'll play or not, I don't know, but he looked quite good when I saw them. Then they've signed Tavon Campbell from West Brom, and you know, they've made a lot of signings that, could work. I think they'll improve, but not dramatically. So I've gone for them at 17th place. At 16th place, we have Oldham, who become back into the 4th tier for a very, very, very long time. I looked at it and it was a hell of a long time. New manager. So they got a new manager in Frankie Bunn. I think he's an ex-player. He could be. He could do well. He could not do well. We don't really know. So I don't know. But the thing is, if it goes wrong, they could be down there. Somebody could come in. A bit like what happened at Sunderland for a few years. Somebody comes in, saves them. They've signed some decent players. Jose Baxter, Chris O'Grady. They've signed Giles Coke, who I was a big fan of. A long time ago, around 10 years ago, when he was playing for Mansfield. I really, really rated Giles Coke, and he went on to bigger and better things. But now he's back in the second. He was in the last year. But I just think they might struggle with the new manager. So that's why they are 16th. In 15th place, we have Carlisle. Carlisle are another club that has had a new manager. Replacing Keith Carl was John Sheridan, who has been a successful manager over the last few years. But having said all that, his success is starting to wear a little thin, and they're starting to make, he's not as good as he was before, basically. They've signed players, they've signed either quite young players, or they've signed people past 30. I'm not impressed with any of their signings, to be fair. They've lost some experienced players. Sean Miller, they've lost Nicky Adams, Mark Ellis, Jamal Campbell-Rice, Reggie Lamb. So they've lost Tom Miller as well, and Tom Miller's been there for a very, very long time. I remember him playing against Hereford in the conference. Sorry, ignore all of that. Tom Miller played for Cambridge in the conference, so ignore all that. So 14th, talking of Cambridge, that's exactly who I have at 14th place. So they've signed Reggie Lamb, they've signed Louis John, and they have signed George Taft. Going out, they lost a very, very good player in Uche Ikpeazu, who has gone to Hearts, who was tearing it up when I was watching the Betfred Cup on Sunday afternoon, and he, is a big, big loss. But I expect them to have a similar season under Joe Dunn, their new manager, who was previously with Colchester. I expect them to have a similar season and finish around mid-table, which is okay. So 13th place, we have Stevenage Borough. Are they Stevenage now? But yeah, Stevenage are the next. I think they're just Stevenage now. So they've signed some very, very experienced players: Michael Tomlin, Joel Byram, Johnny Hunt. They've signed Jamal Campbell-Rice, who's probably the oldest. They've signed Emmanuel Sanoop, who I really rate when I saw him at Kiddie a couple of times. But they obviously lost Ben Wilmot, who they have, received a huge amount of money for. Huge amount. They've also lost Matt Godden, who scores a lot of goals for them. But having said that, I think they've signed some really good players, a lot of experience in there. So I think they'll finish a touch higher than they did last. Yeah, in 12th place, this is a bit of a surprise, we have Exeter City. So Exeter have, just come on the back of their second successive playoff final loss, which is absolutely fucking gutting for the club. But they have brought in Jonathan Fort, Tristan Abrahams, who I believe had quite a good summer. Obviously, they have Boateng, who is very highly rated. He looked great in the semi-final. Second leg, I think it was, against Lincoln, and they've lost a lot of players to MK Dons, Ryan Harley. They've lost Robbie Simpson, Jordan Moore Taylor. They've also lost a few other players as well. However, they've got a new manager and it might take a little bit for him to adapt. That's why I've gone for them to finish in 12th. However, they've signed Jimmy Oates, who used to play for Hereford, who was his captain, so I hope he has a really good season. Okay, in 11th, we have Newport County. So Newport also finished in 11th under their manager Mike Flynn. And they've made some really good signings, but they've lost a couple. They've lost, Frank Nublet, and that's pretty much it. They've signed some good players. I'm just not sure if they'll work. The likes of Jamil Matts, that could go well or it could go not well. They signed a few players on loan from Bristol City. They signed Fraser Franks, who's also quite a good player at that level. I don't think they've improved. I don't think they've regressed. I think they're a very similar outfit to what they were last season. Okie Coke. 10th place, we have Port Vale. So they've been very, very busy bees indeed. They have, sold a lot of players, got rid of a lot of players, and they have also brought in a lot of players. They've brought in Louis Dodds again. They've brought in Brendan Daniels. They've brought in Idris Kanu again. They've brought in Ricky Miller, who was absolutely exceptional for Dover. So yeah, they've gone for a 10th place finish. I think they'll be much better under Neil Aspin, who was a very good manager with Halifax and Gateshead. So I expect him to, really challenge much higher, maybe, a playoff push. But yeah, I don't expect them to be as low as they were last season. 9th place, another surprise, Notts County. So Notts County missed out just on the playoffs, and they've lost, several, experienced players. A lot of experience has gone out of there. And they've signed a lot of young players. They've signed Bodlin. They've signed Oxlade-Chamberlain from Portsmouth, who I remember seeing, let's say, I think it was around the 8th tier, and I didn't really rate him, to be fair. They've signed Christian Dennis. But I think they are going to be around the playoffs again. But I've gone for them to just miss. But I think they could even go higher and get into the playoffs. But I've gone for them to finish just outside. It's going to be really hard to get after that. That heartbreaking loss after coming so close. So 8th place, a bit of a surprise. This one I've gone for newly promoted Tranmere Rovers, who came up through the playoffs from the National League under Mickey Mellon. So they've done a lot of wheeling and dealing, but they've made some signings, some young talented signings, and a few players that I recognise. Paul Mullen and Mark Ellis. So yeah, and I think Mellon has been there and done it before. He's got promoted. They already have a good squad. So he got promoted with Shrewsbury. They finished, I think they finished runners up that year. But yeah, so they've already had a good season. 7th place. Now we're into the playoffs, and I've gone with Colchester, who finished outside the playoffs in the end. They signed Frank Nublet, who I think is really good. Harry Pell, they spent $100,000 on. He's an Essex boy, so he is going home. They signed, a few other young, talented players. They've signed Luke Norris as well, and they've signed a player called Ethan Ross, who's a goalkeeper. And I can tell you, Hereford had him for a couple of games last pre-season, and he wasn't very good, and we didn't actually end up taking him on loan. So I don't expect him to be very good, but I expect them to have a good season. They've improved their squad with Norris, Nublet and Pell, and I expect them to be in the playoffs. 6th place, we have Northampton, who have been relegated from League One. They already have a good squad, and they have made some good signings. Junior Morris, They have Andy Williams, who played for Hereford many moons ago, and they have brought in some other cheap players, but they have a really good squad. They haven't lost anyone massive in the summer, so I've gone for them to finish 6th place and have a good season. In 5th place, we have Mansfield Town. So they were in and about the playoffs last year. Then they lost Steve Evans, who moved to Peterborough, and they sort of lost their momentum just a touch. But they've made some, okay signings. They've signed, very, very decently. Some players that have been there and done it, like Craig Davis and Neil Bishop, could still do a job. They've not lost anyone massive, I don't think. And I think David Flitcroft, he's been there before. He won promotion with Bury, and I think they'll be in and about the playoffs. In 4th place in the final playoff spot, just missing out on automatic, we have Bury Football Club. So Bury have signed a lot of players. Byron Moore, Tom Miller, Nicky Adams. They've signed Chris Stokes, who I rate highly. And they have also signed Chris Dagnall. They've had some decent results in pre-season, drawing with Everton and drawing with Liverpool. It's going to be really hard for Ryan Lowe, but I wish him all the best, because it's really hard, and I obviously remember him as a player. So now we go to the automatic places. So these would go automatically up. First off is Danny Cowley's Lincoln City. So I've been quite impressed with their business so far. They signed Grant Smith, the goalkeeper, who was absolutely exceptional for Bournemouth last season. They've also signed Bruno Andrade, who was absolutely exceptional for Bournemouth, and they've also signed John Akinde, who could be a massive signing in the summer. He could provide so many goals. So I think they will, he will really help them, and I think that could push them over the line. They've lost, Alex Woodyard and, a few others, but no one really of note, I don't think. So I think they're only going to improve under Cowley, who got into the playoffs last year, and I think they'll do even better this time. Second, we have MK Dons. So they have brought in Tisdale, and I think this time he will get promoted again. So he got promoted in 2009 with Exeter City. They've come straight up from the conference, and he has gone about his business very smartly. Hancock's was at Macclesfield. He was okay. They did really well. They've obviously signed the players from Exeter, and they've also really got a good squad. And I think they'll do it. And top of the league, champions, I've gone with Swindon. They have a good squad, and they've signed a lot of players who I really rate. So they have signed Tumani Diagoraga, who has been playing at a much higher level. And they've signed Jermaine McGlashan, who I absolutely can't stand. Luke McCormack, who's an absolute, bastard. He's a very good goalkeeper, though. They have a decent squad already. They've lost players, but nobody important. And Phil Brown, has been there before. He won promotion in 2015 through the playoffs with Southend, and I'm really impressed with their signings. So that is who I have gone to finish top of the league. So, what do you think about my predictions? Am I right? Am I wrong? Obviously, if you think that your club should be higher, then I've got some news for you.
You'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you will do nothing. Get the fuck out of here.
Okay, but seriously, I hope you enjoyed. Tell me your predictions down below. Where you think I've gone right, where you think I've gone wrong. Like, share, and subscribe. Get involved. My name is Mike. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and I will see you soon.